presentation.
Excellent. Thank you, everyone, for having me. I'm President and CEO of Tier 1 Silver. My name is Peter Dembicki. Tier 1 Silver is an aggressive exploration company based in Peru with what was a focus on silver that has now become something much more in terms of copper and gold as to what we've discovered in Peru. Forward-looking statements I'll be making here for sure, as we are a public company and we'll make some comments along the way. You know, anytime you're investing in a junior exploration program, it has to be a bet on management, it has to be a bet on people. Have the leadership made multiple discoveries in their past? Have they provided large returns for shareholders along the way? In the case of Tier 1 Silver, we have founders Ivan Bebic, Sean Wallace, who have not only made a discovery, they've made a couple different discoveries and provided large returns for shareholders along the way. Started with Keegan Resources in West Africa, had an enormous return for shareholders, followed it up again with the discovery of Cayden Resources in Mexico and sold it to Agnico for over $200 million without a resource in place. So we have the contacts, we have the information, not only to make the discovery, but how to package it up for shareholders, which is what you want to see. Our technical team is really where our heart and soul of this company are. Christian Rios, who's leading our exploration and our operations in Peru, integral in the two separate silver discoveries formerly for Bear Creek. Santa Ana Corona is his discovery. His daughter's name is Ana. This is someone in Peru who knows Peru like the back of his hand, and we're so lucky to have him on the ground. Michael Henriksen, formerly at Newmont, leading the charge for operations at our base in Vancouver. So I probably don't need to explain to this audience why we like silver so much. You know, it has all the qualities of gold that we know and love, all the use cases of copper that we know we need. We know that the global demand is outstripping supply for the first time in the last 6 or 7 years. We also love silver because we all know the power that silver brings. It's that torquey nature to it. Every time gold goes on a large run, we know that silver outperforms in a large fashion. So we love it. When we listed our company 2 summers ago, silver was $30 an ounce, and we saw the power. We saw companies changing their names from ABC Gold Corp to ABC Gold and Silver just to ride that wave. Our share price out of the gates when we listed 2 summers ago rocketed because of that silver. And unfortunately, we've had to ride that wave down as silver prices have been under pressure, much like other prices, but we know when it's on how much it works. So here we are in Peru. We have 2 premier projects, Hurricane Silver and our flagship project located in the south, right above the border of Chile at Curibaya. Peru is a very mineral-rich country and for the most part remained underexplored. This is a country where we're going to make that truly world-class discovery. It allows you to have that big opportunity, that big swing. Years ago, we sent our geologists out to scan the entire coastline of Peru. We wanted to find the #1 precious metals target that we could go and explore. Ironically, where this precious metals target showed up was down south near the border of Chile, but it landed us right in the middle of this prolific copper porphyry belt, not on an epithermal precious metals belt, which was super intriguing. We went out and acquired 16,000 hectares of land, or 17,000 hectares of land, 100% owned. 1/3 was owned by Teck, 1/3 was owned by an Australian junior company. We acquired Tech's third. The Australian junior company turned into a bankrupt hearing aid company, and we acquired their third. So a good story about how it all came together. Now, anytime you do an initial exploration program on a property that has never before been drilled or explored, you just want to get a geological sense that there is something there to go after. In our case, our first rock sample campaign that we did uncovered some grades the industry had not been aware of before, up to 300,000 grams per ton silver, up to 1 kilogram of gold, 70 plus samples over 2.5 grams per ton gold and 1,000 grams per ton silver. So here we are. Is there a geological sense that there's something here? Absolutely. Is it worth pursuing? 100%. So that's exactly what we did. We started and commenced our first robust channel sample campaign. And we were able to replicate those grades again. 6 kilos, 12 kilos, plus kilo samples all over the place. Larger intercepts of 20 meters of 300 grams per ton. Remember, in Peru, that 200, 250 grams per ton silver is that economic kind of baseline that you want to hit. So we have the grade, we had the widths in these channel samples. I just want to bring your attention to this highlighted area, Curibaya area, where we received a lot of our top intercepts, because that comes into play quite shortly. Here's a recent map of our channel sample results, where they located around this kind of 20 square kilometer footprint, excuse me. So after that, we commenced our first ever drill program, 5,000 meters, 16 holes, 1 diamond drill rig. Within our first 6 holes of a never before drilled property, we got our first bonanza grade intercept of 1,400 grams per ton silver. We followed it up with a couple economic grade intercepts, and in our last hole of the entire campaign, hole number 16, had our best intercept of 1.5 meters of 1.2 kilos. So their grade is there. And what is not lost on us is we need to increase those widths. We want to see the 8 to 10 meter widths. We know the profound effect and the true discovery that can have on our company. So we didn't stop there. We weren't comfortable with it. We knew what we had to go after, but we wanted a second set of eyes on this to make sure we were on the right track. We hired 2 world-renowned consultants to go and conduct a site visit. We wanted to see an unbiased opinion. Should we commence? Should we keep going? Sure enough, both came back with an astounding, absolutely, you guys are on the right track. However, most of your intercepts came around 1,900 meters of elevation, and something is driving this silver to surface. And it's a story of erosion. Over 57 million years, Paleocene era, these rocks, something is pushing it higher and higher to surface, which is why all your top intercepts came at 1,900 meters, which is why they all occurred within 100 meters of surface. Now, if you go north on your property to the Curibaya corridor, which you can see on the right-hand side of the screen, and if you recall on our channel sample map where we received all of our best intercepts, there's another 500 meters of elevation, which is preserved precious metals, which we have not yet tested. The Curibaya corridor was not in our original drill polygon. So we have the opportunity to go test that in our upcoming campaign. Secondly, we recently came out results. There's a lot of arsenic high in the system, which is a good indication that the precious metal system lies below and that we're high in the system. So that'll be our number 1 target to go after and replicate the grade and hopefully higher widths. Now, the second thing these consultants said were, we're not sure if you guys weren't looking for it, maybe just focused on the silver, but there is every indication you're sitting on top of a large copper porphyry. Now, this makes a lot of sense considering where we are in the system. So again, there's porphyritic dikes, lithocaps, our longer holes that we had in the system were picking up base metals in the low of it. So we're currently doing CSAMT geophysics to really go and test it. This will, again, we're going to save a couple thousand meters of our upcoming drill program to go test this copper porphyry. But we love the indication that it's there. We love the multiple swings and opportunities that we have at Curibaya for the silver system, for the copper system, and we've gotten a lot of interest from the majors because of what we've uncovered here. Now, if anything were to occur at Curibaya, it couldn't happen in a better place. Low elevation, half an hour away from Pan American Highway, 50 kilometers from the ocean, close to a city of 300,000 people, international airport, no agriculture, no residences, no archaeology. This is foothills of the Andes, Atacama Desert region. And the biggest thing in Peru, obviously, is the communities. If you don't have the communities on board, you don't have much support of your drill program. We have one community that we're dealing with, and they truly are partners with us. So we're in a great spot to move. Secondly, we never stop. We always want to acquire a second project in our portfolio. So we acquired Hurricane Silver. This is a 30,000 hectare piece of property. It's a district. It has 13 different targets. We originally acquired this for a silver target at Magdalena, which you can see on the right-hand side of the property. This did have historical channel sample, rock sampling results that we were very intrigued about. So we went in there last year around this time with our geologists. We only had about 3 weeks to do a reconnaissance mission. And sure enough, we're able to replicate a lot of these bonanza grades. So that gave us the green light at this area of Magdalena. So we have 4 kilometers of corridors, veins emanating on surface. We need to do more testing, more geophysics, more IP to really uncover how big these corridors could be and how grades. We have veins ranging from 1 meter up to 7.5 meters. So we know the potential is there. The second part of Hurricane, which is super intriguing, that occurs on the northern part of our property, is San Cipriano and Nanahuaco. Now, this is when it really gets interesting because we acquired this project for these silver targets, but again, just like Curibaya, the base metal story starts coming in. San Cipriano, we had recent channel samples of 48 meters of 3.5% copper. Nanahuayco, historical drill results, 14 meters of 5.5% copper, but most importantly and most notably is a 0.62% nickel that we occurred. So the nickel is what's really making the majors scratch their head. This is the only known copper nickel project in Peru that is known. This is a project that you would currently find in Brazil or in Russia with Norlys. These things can span for kilometers at a time. So this area is super intriguing. The fact that these base metal numbers are just really, truly outstanding. So much more to uncover. A lot of the property remains undercover, so more geophysics is really needed to understand the scale and the scope of what this project could be. This is all data that is quite new to the company. Again, here's a result of some of the historical drill results at Nanahuayco. Now, unlike Curibaya, where we have fully permitted, drill-ready campaign ready to go, this area we're probably 10 months out from drilling it, so it'll give us enough time to conduct a proper geophysics and everything that we want to do there. Again, historical drill results from our San Cipriano area and recent channel samples of 48 meters of 3.5% copper. So again, very robust grades that we're truly impressed with. So within Tier 1 Silver, we have two premier projects in Peru. Curibaya, our flagship, Hurricane, our second project that has really come to light with these copper nickel numbers. We have the technical ability and expertise in order for us to get there. I don't know of many other exploration companies out there that have multiple opportunities within their projects. At Curibaya, our porphyry story, which has gained a lot of attention with the robust silver grades. Hurricane Silver, we have what started off as a silver target, now have these phenomenal copper nickel numbers to go after. So it provides shareholders with multiple opportunities in each one of our projects. We're going to have, as far as news flow, news from our geophysics, channel sampling, rock sampling still to filter out into the market. But again, we're hoping to commence our second phase of drilling at Curibaya in mid-March. Now, we know where silver was a couple summers ago when we listed. And when we came out of the gates, it came strong. Without even a drill having touched the ground, our share price went to $1.90 Canadian. It's almost a $250 million market cap without any exploration. So we know the power of silver, the torque that it can provide the market. Unfortunately, we've had to ride that wave down as silver has had a tough go over the last while, and our share price is reflected. So I know that you can go and visit any company at this conference or other conferences, and we're not special, regardless of what my mother tells me. We're all in the same boat. You know, our share price is hovering, 10, 12, 15 cents above our all-time low, and really to have that tailwind in the market surely helps. But right now, it's all about setting the table. So we are a liquid company. We have 14,000 shareholders. 60% of our shareholders are Canadian-based and international-based. 40% reside in the U.S. This is a story that Americans love. It's mostly retail focus at this time, given the stage that we're at. We don't have a defined resource. So really, it's just about a liquid trading stock. And once we progress on our next drill campaign and make that true discovery, we will be adding institutional interest into the name as we go. I hope I didn't speak too fast. Again, thank you so much for your time and consideration. My name is Peter Dembicki. I'm President and CEO of Tier 1 Silver. Thank you.
Sorry to say, Peter, but you were really fast.
That was fast, yeah.
But Rick too, so we have time for questions.
Okay, great, yeah,
And
excellent.
first, the audience, do we have questions? Don't hesitate to ask him. Here.
Please. Yeah, of course. So what you read in the headlines is one thing in Peru, and what happens on the ground with a junior exploration company is something else. So politics-wise, Peru is no stranger to political turnover. 5 presidents in 5 years. And most recently elected Pedro Castillo, who was very far left. This is a school teacher with no political background, rallied the communities, the rural communities in Peru with a voice. For once, the communities, the workers at these large mines finally felt like they had somebody that was going to help them see some of these profits trickle down into their communities. As Pedro, quickly learned the moment he got into seat, he had no control over Congress, no control over the military, had very little power to do anything. And since then, he's been completely abandoned. In Peru, parties are owned. They're privately owned and controlled, usually by somebody in the background who isn't able to run for president. And in this case, his party has left him. He's out there alone. Every indication he will be replaced in another 10 months or so. And the only really way to go, knock on wood, is to swing a little bit more right, because he was as far left as you can. So when he got elected, people were saying Peru would be the next Venezuela and everything, but nothing gets done. Much ado about nothing is the term. Ross Beatty said it best. Mining in Peru is a long-term game. Politics is a short-term game. And as a junior exploration company, we weren't really truly affected permitting-wise, community-wise, exploration-wise, because we're not paying royalties, we're not paying taxes like a lot of the majors were impacted by this. So as I mentioned, our communities are the number one priority for us, to have access and have good relations down there. Politics is kind of just noise. The biggest issue for me as a CEO is really just fighting the perception of what's going on there, keeping investors intrigued. Months after Pedro Castillo was elected, a lot of capital had flowed out of Peru because people were afraid what was going to happen. And shortly after, he was in Miami, Washington, D.C., New York, pitching Peru, like, keep your capital in. We're open for business. Mining is 40% of their GDP, so they cannot shut it down. People in Peru, at the end of the day, they don't want to shut down mines. They need to work, and they want mining. They just need to help with the profit sharing and make sure the communities are looked after, number one. So hopefully that covers that.
Thank you. Other questions? Yeah.
It's not bad. It's not bad. One thing that the inflation portion did, and one thing that's unique about Peru, is to start off and to try and get into Peru cold without many connections. It's a very difficult country, which works to our advantage. It keeps a lot of other companies away because they don't have time to wait 12, 14 months for a drill permit. They have shareholders to account for, exploration to commence. So it keeps the number of operating companies within Peru quite tight. Now, if you have a team like we do on the ground in Peru that is able to get us drill permits 6 months at a time, it's fantastic. So what it has happened is there hasn't been an extraordinary amount of demand for drilling services and personnel because there hasn't been a ton of exploration in Peru, which hasn't driven the prices that high to going forward. So yeah, things will increase 5 to 10% naturally, globally, as we see it, but nothing extraordinary. The biggest driver of cost for us in exploration when we're drilling in Peru is water. So even though we have 2 flowing rivers next to our project, they're not permitted for exploration. So we have to truck in water and stockpile it when we're actively drilling. But really the costs of everything else have remained mostly the same.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
You're here today and tomorrow?
I'm here. I'm in room number 24. And so please, would love to meet you, and don't hesitate to approach me.